Currencies are really important to people. If you think about working people around the world, they buy that. All they do is get a wage and then spend it, and that's where inflation is the rub. And so, I do wake up every morning thinking about what currencies are doing around the world. There's a huge amount of pressure on weaker currencies, and they're trying to find how they're going to interact in between the U.S. and China. So that's the source of this. You know, the mistake, and we should remind people of this, was the world becoming dependent on China. We're all aware of how harmed Germany was by depending on Russia for their natural gas. Even starting with Reagan, he pleaded with the Europeans not to get stuck with the Soviet Union. So, but in the recent years, year after year, we're more dependent on China. So that takes work to get out of.
So you have the voice of the president. I mean, you come from the Republican side. If you were to advise the group, Mr. Bessent and all, do we want to mandate a weaker dollar policy, or is that feasible that we can tell the rest of the world what to do?
It's clear what we're doing is building manufacturing in the U.S. so that it's competitive and that it can have verticals, supply chains that get it done. You have to have small business loans. You have to have workers with skills, better education system, and they're working on that. And that will work to give you the trade balance, more balanced trade that we need. I think currencies are a slippery slope because once you weaken your currency, you get more prices, you get more inflation out of that. So my view is that we ought to be defending the dollar, intensely defending the dollar, and making clear to the world it's going to be the U.S. dollar for 50 years, and invest in us or lose out.
Well, I can't say how much he'd be shown the door at the White House based on what.
No, I don't think that the White House wants good outcomes for workers.
Oh, come on, David, I'm going to stop you. President Trump has a history at every step of saying he wants a weak dollar to boost exports.
He wants good outcomes for workers, and that's what's going on right now. So I'm not sure I agree with that. If you want the yield curve lower, you defend the dollar, and everybody will invest in your bonds and in your bills. And that is going on. Look at what's going on in Europe. The euro is strengthening, and they're feeling their oats because they finally started doing some defense spending. And so that Trump is changing the world pretty rapidly in a way that will make it more secure from Russia and China, and will get a lot more investment into the U.S. But I don't think the markets should expect dollar weakness out of that policy. If you're doing good policies in the U.S., it's going to be dollar supportive.
David, with all the tariff discussions going on, is globalization dead or dying? Because we all grew up with globalization.
Well, we did, but it was a mistake in many ways. So globalization,
why was it a mistake?
Let's use two words. Globalization means getting parts from other countries in an efficient way. So that made sense in areas. But then was it sensible for Germany to get its energy from Russia? No, from the communist Soviet Union, and they cut sweetheart deals to do it. That was a mistake. Same with China. We just went too far and had no knowledge of what we were doing in terms of the dependence. So I think as we, people use words. So globalization is this word that we think we know what it means. But I think we will stay in a market-based global economy where you can outsource, but a lot of it is going to be made in the United States.
Tariffs in general, is that the tool to get us there? Do you think, is that the best tool to get us there?
What we know is that the WTO wasn't working, and the whole idea of most favored nation and permanent normal trading relationship didn't work. That was the whole system that the U.S. pioneered and led on and really got hurt by. It was the idea of we lower ours to everybody at the same time, regardless of what they're doing. So that's getting fully rethought. I think it can lead to a more balanced relationship. But you really have to start with it. China is intensely communist and became a dominant country playing that game. We need a new game.